Welcome to Fox News Live. I'm Alicia Acuna in New York. Chaos erupting in Los Angeles as immigration protesters clash with a federalized California National Guard and the Los Angeles Police Department for a third straight day. At this hour, we've seen bottles and rocks thrown by protesters and highways blocked, and smoke bombs and flashbangs have been used to disperse the crowds. You're looking at a live picture there from downtown Los Angeles right now. And as we watch things continue to unfold that we've been watching for a number of hours today, we will now be joined by phone by former D.C. police detective, defense attorney, and Fox News contributor Ted Williams. Ted, glad to have you back. I want to pick up on what we were talking about 15 minutes ago or so. We have some time now because the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, held a news conference to give an update on the chaos that's unfolding that we're watching there on our screens. And in that time, she took a moment to say that the chaos that we are seeing has been caused by the Trump administration's decision to send in the National Guard. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Alicia, I don't believe that there's been one single reason for the chaos that we are seeing in the streets of L.A. at this immediate time. I certainly, if I was in charge, I would not have federalized the National Guard. I would have allowed the L.A. Police Department, I believe, to try to handle the situation. Those people are trained. The National Guard is not trained for urban warfare. The L.A. Police Department has handled many of these incidents, but I don't think we can blame it on any one given scenario there. These are people who have been hell-bent on having their beliefs carried out here in L.A., and they don't give a damn whether they burn the city down as long as whatever they believe in is out there in the open.
And Ted, in addition to the National Guard, I can tell you that U.S. Northern Command put out a statement earlier regarding the protection of federal property and personnel in Los Angeles, because we did see earlier that there were officers in front of the federal building in downtown Los Angeles, and they were trying to protect that. And in the statement, U.S. Northcom said at this time there are approximately 300 members of the California Army National Guard 79th Infantry Brigade combat team deployed at some of the various locations in Los Angeles, but additionally, approximately 500 Marines from the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines at 29 Palms, California, they are prepared to deploy status should that be necessary and augment the support that the DOD's protection of federal property and personal effects. Now, Ted, we do know that Governor Gavin Newsom's office sent a letter to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth earlier saying that the national troops were not needed, that to call them off, that they were making things worse. And is it in your mind that they could make it worse? I'm just trying to understand here.
I do believe, unfortunately, that could make the matters worse. First of all, we have never on our soil in America had Marines deployed in any city. You have, as we know, National Guard, we have local law enforcement, and we have state law enforcement officers. When you look at what's going on out in California at this immediate time, you have a lot of rebel rousers out there. But the L.A. Police Department, I believe, can control this. We do not need, I believe, Marines coming into a city and being deployed.
So, Ted, just listening to what you're saying, because that is the point that the administration of Gavin Newsom is making, that they can handle this. You did bring up urban warfare. That's what this looks like. And also, at the same time, watching the police officers there, and I don't know if those are also members of the military, but they do look like they're struggling. It looks to be kind of tough, and maybe to the average eye, this doesn't look like they have things under control there.
You know, Alicia, they may very well not have everything under control at this immediate time, because what you're seeing out on the streets right now are primarily state police officers, and you're seeing L.A. Police Department police officers. And they have a contingency of their force out there. They don't have the complete force out there. But I do believe over a period of time that the L.A. Police Department, pursuant to the training that they've received through the years of dealing with demonstrations, can bring these demonstrations under control if given the tools that they need and the green light to go in and make arrests.
You know, the Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass also in her news conference said that she is calling on all Angelenos to continue expressing, quote, your right, your anger, your outrage, but to do it peacefully. It doesn't appear that that message is being heard at this time. Ted, I just can't help thinking about the folks who live in this area, the business owners who are also located here. And then I think back to 2020 and the George Floyd protests that we saw and the destruction of property, the vandalization of businesses, and the fact that there are still so many cities, quite frankly, still reeling from the damage and the unsafe nature that they still feel from those protests. And then here we have this happening right now. It's just difficult, you know?
It's very difficult because if you look at your television screen, you see rioters out in the street of L.A., but that is only a small fraction of that community. The majority of that community, they're at home watching their television, watching these rioters, and hoping that they don't come to their communities. And quite naturally, what you've just said, Alicia, about the businessmen, those businessmen are hoping that the law enforcement officers can bring this and continue to get this matter under control so that their businesses can survive. And that is the unfortunate thing about these riots, is that these businesses are the ones who take the bulk of what is going on in these various communities.
And just to remind folks, to kind of bring folks up to date here, the reason all of this started is because a few days ago, we had ICE officers go into Paramount, California, in the Los Angeles area. They were there for ICE raids, a series of them. And when that happened, there were people in the community who then rejected this premise, and they decided to protest. It has been growing for 3 days now. And President Trump spoke with Governor Gavin Newsom on Friday and let him know, in his mind as the president, that this needed to be shut down. And then here we are now. The president didn't see it getting any better, only worse, and then ultimately decided it was time to federalize the National Guard. And so here we are. But Ted, you know, we're heading into the evening hours right now, and that's when things can get particularly dangerous. Can you talk to us about the challenges right now that these officers are about to face as we're approaching 6 p.m. on the California coast?
Alicia, and it's sad and unfortunate, but nighttime is the enemy of law enforcement officers that are trying to bring a riot under control. And the rationale behind that is it's dark. And in the dark, you find individuals throwing bottles, or individuals shooting guns, individuals trying to do whatever they can to harm law enforcement officers. For Fox, I was out in Ferguson, Missouri. For Fox, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin when we had riots. And I can tell you, it is the most scariest thing for law enforcement officers to have to deal with, because they don't know where the objects are coming from, and it is very, very difficult to bring a riding group under control in the nighttime. So I'm hoping that they will flood the zone, meaning law enforcement, and that anybody within that zone they will arrest. As you know, Alicia, they've already declared an unlawful assembly out there, and that's under the California Penal Code 409. And that simply means that law enforcement, anybody in a specified area, after law enforcement has told them to move on, and if they don't, they can make immediate arrests of those individuals, and I'm hoping that this is what they will do.
Well, we will continue to absolutely watch this. And Ted, I just have about a minute here left, but, you know, former Vice President Harris did issue a statement in part saying, you know, Los Angeles is my home. And like so many Americans, I'm appalled at what we are witnessing on the streets of our city. Deploying the National Guard is a dangerous escalation meant to provoke chaos. In addition to the recent ICE raids in Southern California and across our nation, it is part of the Trump administration's cruel, calculated agenda to spread panic and division. And of course, Ted, the Trump administration is saying we were actually concerned about safety here, and we didn't feel that the state of California and Mayor Bass were acting fast enough. Your thoughts?
Well, I think that I would have tried to work again further with the governor and the mayor of Los Angeles rather than bringing in the National Guard at this stage, because I believe bringing in the National Guard, it was like pouring gasoline on an already lit fire. But something had to be done in L.A. because they were, meaning federal agents, being attacked. And I think that someone had to act, and I would hope that the government would have acted more precipitously.
Yes, and everyone at home continuing to watch. We really think about all those folks in Los Angeles, in this area, who are completely innocent and really have nothing to do with any of this. Ted Williams, thank you so much for helping us with this coverage.